We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends. If you want to support this College Football Rebel Outpost channel with a donation to help us keep the lights on, hit that dollar sign, make a comment, and we'll get to you super chat as quick as we can. John Teal leads us off. I said yesterday, Florida State and Clemson is good for Stanford. Interesting. Thank you for your super chat, John. There might be a little bit of a cause and effect if it should happen. We're going to be talking about it today in our live show. John Teal, thank you so much again for your generosity. Welcome into the studio. Everybody is welcome. Even the distractors, even those who do not believe. If you treat the people in the chat with respect, and if you don't spam, you are welcome in. Let me have it. Let me know how wrong I am. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room, with the phone calls later in the show, Okay. So, before we get in to the Holy Smokes Theater, primetime show, ACC drama, there's only 3 schools on the stage, Clemson and Florida State. Remember? Everybody walked off except for Notre Dame. They're still up there. They're in the far side of the stage. They're in the shadows. Remember that? And the last update, Tony Pate and Greg Sankey have left the Holy Smokes Theater. That was an accurate update. Before, now again, we'll get into the final. Did Stanford? They're not, the last update, they were not even in the theater. They were not sitting down. They were not in the popcorn line. There definitely was not on stage. Did Stanford open the door to get into the open foyer? Are they in the popcorn stand right now? Are they getting a drink? Are they talking to the reporter, Jerry, who's in the theater? We'll get into it. And why am I talking about it? A couple reasons. But before we go into this heavily nuanced live show, let's backtrack to the live show we had yesterday. Look, I love that a lot of people watch our show. It's great entertainment. It's great. I love doing this. I love providing a peek around the corner, but I'm always amazed. Even though we do a live show, even if it's on tape, that people can check it out, they again misrepresent what we say continuously, all the time. I don't know if they're doing that because, like, comprehension, they don't get it, or they want to believe they heard what they heard. I don't know. A couple weeks ago, we reported that there were third-party talks between the Big 12 and Florida State and Clemson. We got raked over the coals. We got a whole bunch of people saying on message board, people lit into me. All I could say was true. Couldn't really, anyways. And then Ross Dellinger confirms it in a John Kurtz interview. And I thought that was big news, especially for those who did not believe my report. And then Ross Dellinger comes on and says in a tweet, basically apologizing for speculating about realignment. And then people come after me and say, see, Greg, your report wasn't correct. He's already backtracking. He did not confirm third-party talks. You see, Greg, Well, first of all, if you listen to Ross Dellinger, if you read his tweet, he wasn't backtracking on they were having third-party talks. He was basically saying, look, I was speculating on the options, on the potential options of realignment. And that is what most people do. Now, there are times we report information, like there were third-party talks. Ross Dellinger did not backtrack on that there was third-party talks. And then someone sends me a pic about a comment that was made on a Florida State message board saying Greg Pflugar is now backtracking. Now he admits there are third-party talks. We've only been saying that for 8 years. Listen, it is at a point where try to actually follow what we are saying. There are first-party talks. There are third-party talks. I've been talking about this for years. There cannot be first-party talks right now. There's been third-party talks between Florida State, Big Ten, SEC, and the Big 12. I'm not backtracking on anything. I'm the only one that's being... I'm not the only one. But I'm the one that's being consistent. And I'm the one that's telling you the truth that Florida State is not school 19 for the Big Ten. They're not target to be 19 for the Big Ten. It is not done. There's no handshake. There is no wink. There's no nod. They are not the top target. Now we go into Greg doesn't like Florida State. Greg's devaluing Florida State. Greg is doing all this damage to Florida State. Are you kidding me? Florida State is a huge, I've been saying this, they are a huge brand, an incredible fan base. Of course you have great value. But I'm telling you the truth. You are not the target, the first targets of the Big Ten in neither the SEC. It's not a shot. It's just, and again, if I turn out to be wrong, I will take the L. Unlike pretty much everybody who's doing a daily sunshine pumping. And I have said this since May 23rd. Again, I know a lot of you are going, geez, Greg. Geez, Greg, you're getting this. Why are you doing this again? Because you guys, I should show you, I can't, obviously, but I should show you my direct messages. I'll give you an example. Can I give you all an example? We'll get on to the story of today. And again, it's going to be presented you in a nuanced fashion. So I know the PATC community is going to enjoy it. They're going to have no problems with it. But those who are watching us for the first time, just hang with me for a second. But I got an example. David Hackett. I got a feeling that the dam is about to break wide open and the ACC schools are leaving in large numbers, either ESPN not renewing a TV deal or a dissolution of the conference. Those are basically the only two ways that we can get really an early exit for Florida State and Clemson. Those two scenarios, unless there's some sort of settlement based upon ESPN not renewing their TV deal. But you can put that together. David, I think a lot of people agree with you, including myself. If a dam is going to break, it's going to be dissolution, which I'm not big on, but heck, let's go ahead and speculate it. Or ESPN not renewing their TV deal, some sort of, or Notre Dame is going to pull the thread, and we're going to talk about that. Absolutely correct. David Hackett, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I'm going to give you an example. I am minding my own business. The fat guy from Minnesota. I'm working. I brought the wife to work, the little general. She works at the hospital. I'm taking care of my mother. I'm working. And I get 2 or 3 DMs. Great. The Monty Show. I get it, and then I get a couple more DMs saying, boy, Greg, from people I don't know, boy, Greg, you were saying Florida State to the Big 12. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? So I turn on the Monty Show, which, of course, I try to avoid at all costs. I turn it back to the beginning. The title of the show, and again, and I would not throw elbows at them, but they've thrown elbows at me, and I'm from North Minneapolis, so we throw elbows. Broom ball hockey, whatever, we throw elbows. So I'll try to keep it above. I'll try to be classy as possible. But the name of their show is Florida State to the Big 12. That's the name of their show today. And then they spend the hour, I don't know how long, but they started mocking people. That was their show today, to mock people. They mocked John Kurtz. They mocked people for reporting Florida State to the Big 12. Now, we had a real big show on it, right? Here at Peek Around the Corner. And I appreciate you all coming on in. I appreciate you all being involved. Love you guys. Thank you. I'm very humble. And my question was, and I put it out on X, formerly known as Twitter. I said, who reported that Florida State is going to the Big 12? Who? Name one person. Who reported that? It's unbelievable. No one. So you start your show by putting a fake title. Florida State's going to the Big 12, and then you're mocking people because they're reporting Florida State's going to the Big 12, and nobody on YouTube has reported that. Or anybody who's any... Okay, so now I'm getting all these comments, and everybody thinks Monty is directing it at me. He probably is, but he did. I don't know if he said my name or not. It don't matter. But nobody has reported that. We reported a couple weeks ago that we know there were third-party talks, pretty aggressive, blah, blah, blah. I got raked over the coals, and now Ross Dellinger confirmed it. Other people know about it. No, he did not backtrack on it. He said, I was just talking about options of realignment. Boy, some people are getting every part of yesterday wrong. And then Monty goes, I broke the news months ago that North Carolina and Duke were talking to Brett Yormark. North Carolina and Duke are not talking to Brett Yormark. Those are first-party talks. So I'm going to drop it. I'm going to end that part of the monologue right now. This is what the fat guy from Minnesota deals with almost every morning when people are like completely can't comprehend. This is why we are very fortunate that the PATC community, we can disagree with each other, but we at least understand what each other are saying, right? Helmer Henderson, why did the ACC school sign the Gore extension when ESPN owns 100% of the ACC network? Well, they signed that extension in 2016 because they felt that they needed the ACC network. Remember, before they didn't have it, they were going to get more money, and they actually have. The ACC network is more valuable of a third-tier media distribution than what the Big 12 schools get. The Big 12 schools have a better Tier 1, Tier 2 deal. The ACC schools have a better third tier deal. They should not have extended that to 2036, and especially given ESPN the power to bolt after 2027 or 2021, but then it was extended. A lot of mistakes. They should not have agreed to a grant of rights that went that long. So I don't know. They were looking for stability. That's my best answer. It was a mistake. Thank you, Helmer Henderson, for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Stick to the high road, Greg. I'm going to try. I am going to do the best I can now. But I had to say I felt at least I had to say some of that. Because this live show is going to have some nuance. I'm not reporting Notre Dame and Stanford to the Big Ten. I want to put that on tape. Why am I talking about it today? Why is this our show? First of all, I want to thank everybody who's come on in. We're not going to do a roll call today. But I appreciate everybody coming on in. A lot of people here at the beginning of the show. Let's just get right into the story. Ricky, you know what, Ricky? I don't even remember if I properly said thank you about the gift membership from yesterday. So I do apologize. I don't think I got to that. So thank you, Ricky, for the 5 gifted membership. Holy smokes. Ricky, you are hereby knighted, cloak and dagger, and the 5 that are getting, and it's not listing for me for some reason, the 5 who are going to get the gift memberships, please say thank you to Ricky. All of you are hereby knighted, cloak and dagger. I do appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Ricky. And I apologize for yesterday because I'm pretty sure I did not get back to thanking you. Here's the deal. Why am I talking about Stanford? Why am I talking about Notre Dame? Few different reasons. One is Stanford football fans. I do not know who this person is, but I do know somebody who knows. And this person is legit. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't have any new information on the possibility of Notre Dame and Stanford going to the Big Ten. I do have some Notre Dame information. We've had it. It's one of the reasons that we pulled down all the odds, all the chalk and everything on May 23rd. We keep saying the two tent poles are Notre Dame and North Carolina. It's true for the Big Ten and the SEC on the next wave of expansion. But the person that I know is extremely legit, knows that this person is legit. And that's about the only thing I can say. And suppose this Stanford football fans, I'm not going to go there. There is stories that this person has broken. And in this situation, I believe, according to what I'm being told by my guy, is this person, Stanford football fans, has been reporting on Instagram. I don't even have Instagram. The only two sites that I'm on is on 247 and on X. I'm not on Facebook. There was a person on Facebook who was pretending to be me. I've never been on Facebook in my life. No login. But supposedly this person, and I apologize to Stanford football fans if I'm getting some of the information incorrect. I'm not here to relay to you his information, other than to say this person is saying that Notre Dame and Stanford is going to happen. I don't think he's quite putting a date on it, and I don't think he believes it's imminent. I do believe he's been saying it's been going on for a long time. But he believes something when the ACC claps, this is going to be what happens. Notre Dame and Stanford. I will tell you, well, before I tell you, so I just wanted to put that out there. I'm sure most people haven't seen it. I know some people have. And all I can tell you is this person is actually legit. And there's already people gone after him. He's on Instagram, but people are going after him on X and whatever. And this guy is actually legit. So, again, I want to show you guys something. I have done this show since August 20th, 2022. And I've only brought this up one other time, and it was, I don't even know if I brought it up. But if I have brought it up, if I've shown any part of this article, it was on episode 22, and I may not have, to be honest with you. So I may never have brought this up. This is part of the article that the Los Angeles Times did. They interviewed me 4 different times. And I'm going to actually, and it was a long article. It was posted on digital. It was going to go on the sports page, but it got such a big response. They actually put it on the front section of the newspaper, A1 front page. And this is the part of the story that we got wrong. Not the part that we got right, which was about everything else when it came to the USC story that we broke. This part is actually the part that I had to take the L on, and I took the L on this like a week in, like the first week we started this YouTube channel. Like even before this came out August 20th. I think I took the L like August 6th, 16th or 17th. Because we believed, we reported correctly. We reported a lot of it correctly. But we believed the end result was going to be Notre Dame and Stanford. Now, before this article was even put out, because the interviews were a month or 3 weeks prior, we were told that Notre Dame is balking at it. They're not going to do it. And now they're switched. Now the Big Ten is going to go Washington and Oregon before they go to the East, Southeast. But a whole bunch of things were going to have to happen. And that's when we started the live show. And for months and months and months, we said Oregon and Washington, that Kevin Warren would have to leave first. The Big 12 was going to have to crack the Pac-12 because the legal counsel was telling Kevin Warren at the time, then Tony Pate, we're not going to take the next two schools of the Pac-12. Somebody else is going to have to do that. For those longtime followers, you followed that whole story with us. And we nailed that thing, but this we did not. This is what we took the L on Notre Dame and Stanford. So why am I showing you something that we took the L on? Well, first of all, we are transparent. With our W's, we do take an L when it comes to some of our reporting. So herein, I'm just going to go through a few screens of this because I wanna kind of do a little backing up to explain the context of all this. Again, this is a nuanced show. There's still so much pressure to consolidate. This is me talking to Los Angeles Times. For the bad of it and for the good of it. However you want to phrase it, there's still that pressure, that proxy war between ESPN and Fox. The Big Ten presidents want Notre Dame. They want Stanford. We think that's going to happen. We were wrong. We said we thought it was going to happen within a month. Then we said we thought it was going to happen in a year. We even said it in this article. And then I even took the L before this even came out on our YouTube channel because we got word, it ain't happening. So now it's Washington and Oregon, the next two. This is what we also said in the article. USC is recruiting Notre Dame into Big Ten, Flugard tweeted, quoting BTM directly. BTM and our associates, they're one particular group of our sources, so to speak. They are active. USC has been active for months. Aggressive. USC's athletic director knew his school value and knew its leverage points and brought it and is still bringing it. This is absolutely correct. It was. Remember, this article in the Los Angeles Times came out on August 20th. It was June 30th when the country found out that USC and UCLA were going to the Big Ten. We had first reported that USC had called the Big Ten and things were ramping up and everything in March 31st of 2022. During March 31st into June 30th, and then when this article came out, USC during this whole process, remember, USC called the Big Ten alone. They were not calling the Big Ten in tandem with UCLA. When USC was negotiating to get it, again, first party talks, different than third party talks. USC was saying they were putting pressure. They knew their value. Mike Bone, he was putting pressure on. We were getting all sorts of information from Los Angeles. That's how we broke the story. The leak did not come out of the Big Ten corporate office. But at the time, we described as pressure. USC, one of those pressure points was USC wanted Notre Dame to join the conference. They talked to the Big Ten about it. We know this. And on the day of my death, maybe at that time, the little general will produce a notebook full of stuff. We know that USC wanted Notre Dame in the Big Ten. We know that Notre Dame used their pressure, that their great value, to where USC and UCLA were the first two Big Ten schools ever to join the Big Ten as fully invested Big Ten teams. On day one, USC and UCLA are going to own a slice of the Big Ten network. That is something that Nebraska did not get. That is something that Maryland did not get. That is something that Rutgers did not get. That is something that Washington and Oregon did not receive afterwards. That is something that the original 11 Big Ten schools, when the Big Ten was created, none of those 11 schools were fully invested. In other words, for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 years, all those Big Ten schools had to give up their third-tier TV revenue money back to Fox Sports, because Fox Sports was the sugar daddy who created the Big Ten. And then the Big Ten schools and the Big Ten conference had to pay Fox Sports back, because the Big Ten schools wanted some ownership of the conference. And they got it. Since then, they've sold off some of that equity back to Fox Sports. USC had so much leverage that they were able to be a fully invested Big Ten school on day one, and UCLA got the same thing. So UCLA was using their extreme leverage. USC was using their extreme leverage on the Big Ten and on Notre Dame. Now, this is what I said. Notre Dame's board at the time, this article was released August 20th, 2020, but I think the interviews were in late July or early August. Notre Dame Board of Trustees is the next piece. Notre Dame's athletic director has kept them informed for the last few months, not starting from scratch. Now, boosters are engaged. Will greenlight move to the Big Ten if called upon? I want to get back up to the Notre Dame athletic director has kept them informed for the last few months. The Board of Trustees. This was absolutely correct, accurate. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, remember, you can Google this. Google Jack Swarbrick. I believe it was May a couple months, I think it was May. Honestly, I don't remember, but I think it was May of 2022, where he, in an interview, said that everybody's going to have to figure out what sun they're going to have to go around, the SEC or the Big Ten. You see, when Jack Swarbrick said that in the open, he knew that USC and the Big Ten were in talks. That USC and the Big Ten were in talks because USC was trying to get Notre Dame on board. You guys understand that? That's why Jack Swarbrick went out on that article and said what he said. That's why he knew what he knew, because USC was recruiting Notre Dame. And the rest of this article, NIL is the hammer. Big brands want to play against big brands more often. If they can't, they still want to play in the biggest markets. Big Ten markets buy products and services of its advertisers. Los Angeles markets will increase wealth all around the Big Ten. So that brings us up to today. Again, for those who are just joining us, the only reason why we're discussing this today, well, one of a couple reasons, but Stanford football fans, legit insider, who's actually broken stories, is believing, he's been told, he's putting it out there that Notre Dame and Stanford are going to come once the ACC, once there's movement, basically. And I don't believe he's saying by the hands of Notre Dame, by either one of those other things we've talked about. Either ESPN drops the option after 2027, or if there is this dissolution theory, whatever happens, whatever makes it collapse, he believes this is being discussed, this is going to happen. And he is legit. Now, let's go back to now. We at Peek Around the Corner on May 23rd was told all this information, all this new information. A door was open, and we have been reporting to you as much as we can. There's stuff that we can't talk about even now. There's another layer of this story that's going to come out somewhere, somehow, some angle. It is, I know, but I don't know exactly when or who, but it's going to come out. And I can't get into that. You're going to know it. You're going to know it when you see it, read it, smell it, eat it. Somewhere, somehow, this is going to present itself to you. There's another layer to this whole thing. Can't get into it. But I've gotten into a bunch of stuff. One of the items that I've gotten into is the number one straw that is going to stir this realignment drink is relationships, relationships, relationships. And I've been asked on the show, what's the number one advice I would give to Florida State and Clemson and everybody else? Work on your relationships. Work on your relationships with who? With the athletic director in the Big Ten, with an athletic director in the SEC, if you think they're important, with the president in the Big Ten, with the president in the SEC. But I've also said, and I made it clear, and I looked straight in the camera and I said, especially work on your relationships with North Carolina, UNC, and Notre Dame. There are two tent poles in this next realignment. Notre Dame and North Carolina. There are a lot of other valuable schools. One of them being Florida State. No doubt about it. And one of them being Clemson, and there's a few others that are valuable enough to get to the Power 2. No question, no doubt. End of story, period. But what also is the end of story, period, is there's no Big Ten 19 today. There is no SEC 17 today. Slow down, you move too fast. Remember this? They're both going to just wait to see all their options appear. There are no first party talks, there are third party talks. We have said the number one target for the Big Ten is Notre Dame. Now, there's been some questions. I have seen them. Number one, why now for Notre Dame? If this is going to happen. Why now for Notre Dame? Why now for Stanford for the Big Ten? Why now? The Big Ten's already rejected Stanford. Notre Dame has already rejected the Big Ten 50 times in the last 50 years. Why now? I don't, if this is going to happen. Number one. Let me first get to the super chats here. I do apologize. I'm getting late on the super chats. Chris Hughes referencing the movie The Hunt for Red October. How do you get a crew off a nuclear sub in the middle of the ocean? How do you get Notre Dame to join the Big Ten? You blow it up. The ACC, pure cloak and dagger. But who is blowing up the ACC? How can that trigger be pulled? Well, we've talked about it. Will Notre Dame be the ones that pull the trigger? I don't think so. I'll get back to that in a second. Thank you, Chris Hughes. Chris Hughes again. Notre Dame was never going to leave the ACC until it had to. I agree. That day is a coming. Florida State and Clemson leaving forces Notre Dame to exit. Stanford has no other option but to join. I sort of agree with that. I'm not sure Florida State and Clemson. That is possible. And I'll get more into that. Thank you, Chris Hughes, for your generosity, helping us keep the lights on. I do appreciate it. Let me answer it this way. Why now? Well, first of all, there's a couple reasons. There's a couple reasons why this could be a possibility now. One is we at Peek Around the Corner, we have always said that a Super League was not possible for 2026. We've said that for I don't know how long. We also said probably maybe 200 times on this channel that beyond that, it is possible. It's possible, no question about it. It won't be the Super League of 70 and 80 schools. It's going to be less than that if it happens. But it is possible. No question about it. Consolidation is still on the march. And it might not be a Super League if it happens. It might not be a Super League of just all Big Ten, all SEC schools. But it might be. It might be a breakaway. It might be a Big Ten SEC breakaway. It might be. But it might not be either. It probably, Notre Dame don't need no help getting into the Super League, but it probably would be an advantage to be in one of those two conferences if it's not a clean breakaway of two conference leaving. We know this, it's been reported out in the open, out in public, and I've mentioned it the last couple weeks again, that when the SEC and the Big Ten were threatening to break away this time, and we believe it was not possible for 2026, but beyond it is. We know it was reported that Notre Dame, the SEC, and the Big Ten had their talks. They talked about a breakaway, what it would look like. Google it. I'm not making that up. I make nothing up. Google it. So obviously Notre Dame has had some discussions about being a league member, a conference member, not being an independent program anymore. It is one of the least, I believe, least reported story out there. That Notre Dame was in the room with the SEC and the Big Ten talking about a possible breakaway, what that would look like. I don't know if a Notre Dame Stanford movement to the Big Ten is part of it, if this is happening, if it's going to happen, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. But right now, this is a nuanced show. I'm not reporting anything other than the fact that Notre Dame and North Carolina are the tent poles for the next realignment wave for the SEC and the Big Ten. That's what I'm reporting. I've been reporting that since May 23rd. And everything else, the odds and everything else, rip it up. But I don't know if this is something that does happen, if this is something that's being talked about. We have a Stanford legit insider talking about it. That could be one of the reasons why now Notre Dame come in and they're going to bring Stanford along. Those two are as tight as possible. There is no closer relationship. Notre Dame has a very close relationship with Navy, obviously. USC's already in the Big Ten. Notre Dame wants to make sure that they play in California, either Stanford or USC once a year for all types of reasons. Obviously, this would help Notre Dame out. If Notre Dame is coming to the Big Ten and they have the option to choose, and they probably will, and they'll probably take it, the heavy chalk would be Notre Dame. So why now? That's one possible reason why now. Because we're thinking of this possibly Power 2. Maybe the Power 2 thing has nothing to do with it. Maybe that has nothing to do with it. So push that aside. Another reason, possibly now, for Notre Dame is the untenable situation of the ACC. We all know Florida State and Clemson are suing the ACC. They're pushing discovery. There was a ruling today There was a ruling today. I'm not going to get into it. Maybe we'll get into it tomorrow, whatever, about a discovery documents, a certain date. I'm not really sure. Discovery's going to happen. ESPN could drop the ACC option. That could be Josh Pate's story, whatever. But the ACC, the situation that they are now in, Notre Dame might be getting ready. We also know, here at Peek Around the Corner, I'm trying to answer the question, why now after Notre Dame has rejected the Big Ten 50 times in the last 50 years? Another reason, obviously, the Big Ten is now a national conference that takes care of Notre Dame's national scheduling that they need to do for their program because they've got fans everywhere. East Coast, California, Chicago, and everywhere in between. Another why, maybe not a why now, but a one that a couple things kind of caught my attention, to be honest with you. One is this guy here, talked about before, Stanford football fans, legit insider, not fake, legit insider, and another couple is the information I was told on May 23rd. I've said a lot of doors. I've said this on X. I put a little video on it, and I keep saying it on this program. A lot of doors are still closed to me on this story. Unlike the USC story, unlike the Oregon-Washington story, unlike the Colorado story. But one of the doors that was open was there is nothing, there is no May 23rd. There's no chalk, there's no nothing. Tear down the odds. There's nothing. The Big Ten, the SEC, they want to see where this, okay? Except for North Carolina and Notre Dame. Period. Florida State is not Big Ten number 19. Clemson's not. North Carolina's not. It's Notre Dame. Now that is obvious for a lot of you, but I got to say it again. It's Notre Dame. And for the SEC, it's North Carolina. In the connective tissues around North Carolina. And then we go to Josh Pate's tease. We've been all speculating, all of us. What does that tease mean? We've gone from, because I don't know. I know what it's not about. It's not about the Big Ten, unless it's about Notre Dame. It's not about the SEC. Is it about ESPN pulling the rug, taking away declining the option for 2027 beyond? Is Josh Pate tease have to do with the dissolution theory? Or is Josh Pate, is his T-Rex, the shaking of the glass, the water, is that Notre Dame? I don't know. And I haven't, I've talked to a lot of people. None of them know, or at least they're not telling me what it is. I got a feeling, well, I know there are doors shut, and I can completely understand that. There are doors shut to me. When Josh Pate teased the T-Rex shaking the glass, he said He believes that there are reporters that have the story in the oven. And they're going to break it when this drops. He talked about legal people having this, who is guiding him on this story. He talked about how this involves Florida State and other ACC schools, plural. He talked about how this would end up with a reconfigured, reconstructed ACC. He believes, he told us, that now by the end of this week, the first piece of this, of the dam breaking, will happen by the end of this week. It's now Thursday, so keep your head on a swivel. Maybe we have breaking news while we do this live show. And our PATC community and myself, we've been speculating. I do not know. We put up on the board, the ACC is going to announce that they're dropping the 2027 option. We got that up on the board. Now we put up on the board the dissolution theory, where 9 or 10 ACC schools vote to dissolve the conference. I'm not a believer in that, but we're going to put it up there because it kind of goes along with Josh Pate teases. And now the third one we're going to put up on the board is Notre Dame. Notre Dame, because they are T-Rex, they fitted every other tease that Josh Pate put, because this guy's legit. I don't happen to believe that it's this. That it's Notre Dame about to make a move before the other 8, before whatever's going to collapse the ACC. I don't think Notre Dame's going to be the one. So I don't think it's that. I've got it number 3. Pure speculation. I don't think that's what Josh Pate is teasing. But whatever Josh Pate is teasing, and he's talking about a reconfigured, reconstructed ACC, is definitely going to affect Notre Dame and very well could affect Stanford. I've answered the best I can on the reasons why now for Notre Dame. Now I'm going to try to answer the question, why now that the Big Ten would take Stanford? This is an easy one. We talked about, because people are saying, well, the Big Ten has rejected Stanford and now they're going to take them ahead of Clemson, Florida State, Virginia. This is an easy one to answer. Everybody who has talked to anybody in this industry would tell you, if Notre Dame gets to choose, whatever this happens, it's going to be Stanford. Stanford was rejected by the Big Ten because Fox Sports would not pay for it. There's no way they were going to pay for it. Remember, it's not all about academics and research, and it's not all about TV viewership. It's a lot more complicated than that. It's about having the right blend. We've talked about it. California, Stanford, no, not the right blend. No, no. Large population areas, incredible universities, but they don't put their eyeballs on the sport? No, not for the Big Ten. But Notre Dame greases everybody's skids. That's why Stanford, if Notre Dame believes the ACC is untenable, if the ACC claps, if Notre Dame says we can't do a 5-game scheduling with the ACC when they lose their top brands, whatever, it's time for us to jump in the Big Ten, maybe because it's the Super League coming down, whatever. Stanford is in the catbird seat. I want to say this one more time, and then we're going to get to your phone calls. When we were told on May 23rd, Notre Dame and Stanford were the tent poles for the next realignment wave. North Carolina was the number one target, SEC. Notre Dame was the number one target for the Big Ten. North Carolina was going to be the number 2 target for the Big Ten. The Big Ten and the SEC on all other targets, they're going to have to wait to see how it goes, how it blows up, all that stuff. We were also told that relationships was going to be the straw that stirred this realignment drink. Not necessarily spreadsheets. Not necessarily all the things that you would put into your metrics. It was going to be about relationships because, quite honestly, the Big Ten, they're always going to look, to try to increase the value of the conference. They know that Notre Dame does that in spades. Notre Dame has already written in the Big Ten media contract. They already know that Notre Dame would lift everybody's boats, even with Stanford. Not a problem. Not a problem. Stanford would get a full ride in. Washington would. Oregon would. Everything else is waiting on how the ACC implodes, and what North Carolina and how they get out of their quagmire, what they have to do, and the decisions that Notre Dame makes after the release of everybody's grant of rights. This is what the Big Ten and the SEC are looking at. And there's another layer to this that is going to come, and you're going to know it when you see it. It wasn't what happened yesterday. And when this next layer is presented, you're going to know that since May 23rd, what I've been telling you, that nothing's been decided, and Florida State does not have a handshake, an offer, a wink, a nod. It's not a shot against Florida State. It isn't. But when this next wave is presented, it's going to become real obvious. And when that happens, I'm hoping that I'll leave that alone. We're going to get to your phone calls right now. What are you thinking? You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. We're getting ready. We are getting ready. The SEC Media Days, July 15th, 18th in Dallas. We're also waiting for a possible Josh Pate realignment news bomb.
Call from
Chad Bracey.
Chad Bracey, the floor is yours.
Oh, hey there. I only got one quick thing to say, and it's about relationships.
Yeah.
So what if part of the relationships is a grand favor, a grand gesture, something expensive, something that scratches a back? Now, we know for any of these teams to get out, UNC, now Notre Dame doesn't have quite the same ties football-wise, but they have the other sports. Someone has to break the ACC for all this to start happening.
Yeah.
And there might be certain schools that don't want to be the one to do it. They might not want to have the, it's not a good public image to be the one that breaks something.
Yeah.
It's expensive. It's in the courtroom.
Politically,
it's something
they
that
can't.
You don't want to be the one to do it. And if you're UNC, you can't do it.
Yeah.
What if part of building a relationship is being the villain, spending the money, fighting the ACC so that someone else can get where they want to go?
Yes. And that is why Florida State and Clemson have only helped themselves, potentially helped themselves, going to the courts, battling it out.
Because I no longer see a huge advantage to, before I would strongly believe that you sue first, you get out first, and you're the one available, so you're the one that gets picked up. And we're quickly seeing that that's not the case.
I did too, and I took the L on that on May 23rd because now
that we're seeing that that's not the case, like as we were saying today, if you have maybe you have a chance, but you're not 19 for the Big Ten, you're not 17 for the SEC, then there has to be some motivation to not stall yourself. And, it could be that you're scratching someone's back and they know you're scratching their back, but publicly they're not going to applaud your actions because they don't want to be associated with that.
You could be right. You could be absolutely right. And let's be honest. And we said it at the time. We actually reported it. But whatever. It's Colorado. Now it's being reported once again that they got a $2.5 million gift. Not a gift, but a $2.5 million bonus for the Big 12 for being the first ones out. We reported that. We didn't report the $2.5 million, but we did report that Colorado was going to get a bonus because they were the tip of the spear. They were doing everybody a favor. Not a favor, but you know what I'm saying, what you're saying.
Right.
Florida State and Clemson going out there, this could be their scratching of the back. This is their value add. This is expensive. Besides being great valued schools to begin with. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, that's all I really had was, it's very expensive to fight this out in the courts. It's a public black eye to fight your own conference. These are things that you don't want to be the one to have to do it. But if someone else wants you to do it, that could be a big favor, and that could be a building of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be, sir. I haven't heard,
but,
I don't have
and that could even be, back when Clemson and UNC were holding hands, and UNC, they stopped holding hands.
Yeah.
But for all we know, Clemson's like, hey, we're going to do this for you.
That is very interesting. That could be, Mr. Bracey. That very well could be.
But that's all I had for you today.
Yeah. Beautiful call, sir.
You have a good one.
Appreciate it. Excellent call by Chad Bracey. It's always an excellent call by Chad Bracey. It's always an excellent call by... It's always an excellent call.
Call from
Fermented Cheese.
I'm sorry, who is this?
This is Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas.
Yeah, I just have to say there's a lot of fun fan fiction going on out there. Greg, if it's Notre Dame and Stanford to the Big Ten, NC State, UNC, Virginia Tech, and Virginia to the SEC, Clemson, Miami, Louisville, and FSU to the Big 12, I will take that alcoholic fermented cheese.
I think you just nailed it, to be honest with you.
I will take that fermented cheese, Greg. I think what's happened is the evil space badgers have now laced our cheese with fentanyl, and we are all having strange visions of realignment. I think somehow I would be very surprised if FSU didn't end up in either the Big Ten or the SEC. I would be very surprised at that. Certainly, if they.
We haven't said that they're not going to end up in either one.
Yeah.
We've said that they're not the number one targets.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Greg. Yeah. I agree. I think this probably. I have a theory. I certainly think that one, this probably means that the Big Ten is probably looking at going bigger than 20, probably 24. And I also think that by Clemson and FSU having aggressive third-party talks or whatever you want to talk about with the Big 12, I think that is probably done for one, if those two schools have to wait a couple years, if they get out early before the rest of the ACC kind of settles up legally, maybe it's a scheduling agreement to bridge the gap for some time. Although, I think that's probably kind of a worst-case scenario, but I've mentioned that before. Or I think it's a strong message to ESPN that the ACC is a dead man walking, so you better just cancel that option and let things fall into place. I don't know. I think that might have been more of a talking point to ESPN, essentially saying that we're not staying in the ACC, and so you better figure out what you want to do with this, and make a decision on that option so things can fall into place. That's just my opinion. Yeah. I could be wrong. I could be on some alcoholic cheese of my own, but certainly. I think that there's so much alcoholic cheese going on right now, Greg, that it's slipping off crackers all over the place.
Beautiful. But, I don't mind alcohol cheese. Just don't put it on my burger or any of my meats.
No, and I appreciate it, and I think there's a lot of crazy stuff here, but hey, like I said, if what I said at the beginning of the call, if that's what happens, give me more of those drugs.
I will say, but I want to reintroduce something here. I have no new information on Notre Dame, but this, if you check your screen, this guy's legit. So now, could he be wrong? Could he have bad information? Of course, none of us are infallible, but this guy is actually legit. Not, there's a lot of stuff being thrown out there, but this happened to be a person who's got a long track record, many different stories. One of my guys, who is the most legit person, says he knows this. He knows this guy. He knows this is absolutely... So, anyways, that's why we're talking about it today, because this is an actual legit insider.
Yeah, what was the name of this one? Because I saw two different tweets. Who are you talking about? You have McMurphy's tweet up on the screen, but who was the person you were talking about one more time?
Stanford football fans. It's up on the... I got it up on the screen. So it's not a tweet.
Okay, got it.
It's an Instagram.
Yeah, certainly anything wild can happen in realignment. But if Brett Yormark made that happen, Greg, we'd be in P3 territory, and probably maybe that would fix a lot of things. But I'm just gonna I'm not expecting that. I think a different reality will manifest itself. But hey, I'm all for dreaming. Thanks a lot. Great job on the show, Greg, and you have a great day.
You got it. Appreciate it. Mr. Hot Guy, the floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. Wanted to wait as long as I could, let people kind of get in on this. But when Ron Thomas calls, I have like this instant built-in response. I got to call in afterwards because it's always a fun one to go after. Wow, yeah, we've kind of been talking about this for a few days now, I guess you'd say, in terms of Notre Dame and Stanford. I saw this morning, kind of got a little heads up. I did a little quote on Twitter about it. I don't know if you saw that or not. But, yeah, I think that this has legs, but I do want to say along with you that even in some of the conversations I've had about this afterwards, I don't think that this is imminent. I don't think that this is in the works or this is the plan. But as you, I'm sure, are very well aware, probably better than any of us here, these schools can't just have one plan. Like you're saying, nothing is really set in stone at this point. You have to plan for multiple options, and that's what I think this is. And when you have so much heat coming out now and maybe getting really close to ESPN doing their thing, you know, what we're talking about with the whole Pate situation, maybe Notre Dame and Stanford they want to make sure that if their backup plan is the Big Ten, that the Big Ten doesn't go and fill up with some other stuff, right? Like a Florida State, Clemson, you know, whoever. Like, hey, look, we're still very much looking at this as a possibility. And as long as Notre Dame is telling the Big Ten, hey, this is still a possibility for us, I think both of us know, and probably most people in chat, they're not going to close that door. The Big Ten, that is. They're just not. No. And as you say, they're a camp now, right? Like, that's a camp. Like, if Notre Dame is doing this and they have Stanford with them, you could almost say they're camped out at the front door of the Big Ten. And if you want to get in there and talk with them at this point in time, you might have to be good with Notre Dame. And I know that's going to piss off a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, but Notre Dame is kind of done with the ACC. But that just goes to show you the power that they have.
And let's and again, I think the least the story that I believe that, in my opinion, that the National Reporters dropped was, well, it was reported, but no one really went into it, was when it was reported that Notre Dame was actually in the room with the SEC and the Big Ten talking about a possible breakaway. That was reported. So that means that Notre Dame had serious talks with those two conferences about a future in which they would be a member of a conference or a league. So Notre Dame's had those talks just recently, just last year. So they're not all totally against joining a conference or a league, because that report proved it. So I think we've undervalued. I have that little bit of a nugget story there. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and I still contend that I think that their main plan, the reason why Stanford came over, the reason why all this is going on, is that they maybe kind of want to turn the ACC into something after some schools leave. Maybe this is part of furthering that process. You know, we don't know if ESPN is still questioning what to do. I think that's what Josh Pate is talking about. I very much think that now. You pretty much made me think that, not made me, but talked me into it. Like, that's exactly what he's talking about, is ESPN figuring out if they really want to continue on with the ACC as it is. And if they say they're not captain, it does not mean they're not going to renegotiate. It just means that gore is basically trash at that point in time. It's just like with the Pac, when they knew that their deal was ending in 2 years. Guess what happens? They can start talking. And that's what will happen with the ACC if all of a sudden that opt-in is not picked up, is that anyone can start talking. They can talk because they now have to plan for that. There's no one's going to hold that against them. So I That's what I think this is like, if that's really going to happen, some of these people, they're positioning now, right? Like Notre Dame standing at the door saying, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
We still possibly might want to go here. We don't want this to fill up. If they're only going to go to 20, we want it to be us and Stanford. If you're willing to go more than that, let's talk. Let's talk about who can come in. I mean, and that to me is a fun conversation. And people can throw out whatever they want for that. There is no wrong answer. I'm kind of more along the lines of Notre Dame, Stanford wanting to grab Duke because they're going to want Johns Hopkins to go with them into that. Because this is the side that people think is either full or for real. But I believe it's for real, is the research side, the cooperative side. When you start to look at some of the infrastructure that the Big Ten holds to keep all of these labs in direct contact with each other without dropping of internet or anything like that. Stanford and Duke, if they're to join the IP or join the BTA from the IPLC, I think Johns Hopkins has to think hard about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another side of this that, fans either they don't think about or they think it doesn't matter, like it's only football money. Football money is measured in millions. This research money is measured in billions.
Yeah.
Johns Hopkins alone is over $3 billion and growing faster than anyone else. Stanford has maybe more medical patents filed than anyone else. You put those two as a combo with Duke. Duke's in the top 10. And all of a sudden, the BTA, AAU who? Like, what do we care even at that point in time? So it's another level of this that most people don't, get into, and I could be wrong about it, but yeah, I think that this is them saying we want to have a say in who gets in, and that doesn't mean Florida State does not get in.
Yeah.
Like, Fox is going to have a say in this, and I still think that Florida State's the top pick for that. Like, if you're going to say, oh, we're going to go to 24, and you want us to pay for all that, how is that going to happen? And you don't want Florida State in it? I don't know. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people can think about what it is. So I still think Florida State has a part in that. But like you're saying, all roads might go through Notre Dame at this point in time.
And North Carolina.
And North Carolina for the SEC. Just because.
And for the Big Ten. Yeah.
But you think the Big Ten?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, the Big Ten, they would probably have to agree on North Carolina State in order to get UNC, right?
Yeah. Everything being even, it's North Carolina. But yeah, there's an issue there. So, yeah.
So you kind of got to make the SEC think that you'd be willing to do that.
Yeah.
So take North Carolina State. They parked their network headquarters in North Carolina. They kind of showed their hand. So I think that they would have a real problem with seeing both North Carolina and North Carolina State going to the Big Ten. I don't know. There's a lot to it, but yeah, I was kind of wondering if you were going to pick up on this and go with this, because I was hearing what you're hearing, that this guy here is for real. And
he's for real. That doesn't come from me. That comes from a guy that I've known for a long time, who's absolutely legit, who says this guy's absolutely legit. So this is not like a genetics character. This is a real person, real legitimacy, who's gotten things right. So
I didn't even know he existed before today.
Yeah.
I was like, so the guy pointed out to me, I'm like, I don't follow anything over on Instagram. I have no idea.
Instagram. I reached out to somebody that I know. I reached out and someone said, absolutely, this guy is legit. And it's not somebody that has anything to do with this YouTube channel or PATC. It's somebody who knows people out there. And yeah, it's this in the Stanford community, this is, to them, this is legit. And
yeah, this is the first right here.
Yeah, so
that's what I've been told kind of to the side, because I didn't even know about this. I just got told about it this morning.
Yeah.
I did a little quote post on Twitter about it.
I don't have any new information. I don't have. It's not a thing that I'm I don't have anything new other than everything else has to wait until, in the purposes of the Big Ten and the SEC, everything else is going to have to wait on North Carolina and Notre Dame. Been saying that since May 23rd, and we're all going to probably see more evidence of that in the weeks ahead.
Yep. And, and to me, this is kind of a slam dunk. If their situation they want to build up in the ACC doesn't go through. But, I think now for a lot of people start thinking about who goes with that, because I don't think that they generally want to come alone. I think they're going to want to have a decent block of private schools in the Big Ten. There's very big reason for having that these days. They're going to have different issues than the public schools are going to have, and with conferences having more ability to write these new rules in the future than they've ever had in the past, you want to have a strong block. So if this is true and if this ends up happening, if the ACC thing does not work out for them, I think people should really start to look at who else are they going to want to pull in. Like, I would say in Miami. I'm looking at Duke. Does this improve Miami's chances? I know you've talked about it in the past and then pulled off of it, and I'll get going here real quick so the next person can jump in, but that's what I wanted to ask you is, what do you think that this does for Miami?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just and if I did know, I probably wouldn't want to even say it, because then it muddies the water on my message, and I don't know. That's my answer.
All good. I'm kind of curious because
yeah.
I think this changes the balance. So we'll see. Curious what people have to say about this, but good talking to you, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you. A really good friend to our show just reminded me that, the question of why now on Notre Dame.
Call from
Rick.
Rick,
to accept.
Rick, can you hold on for a second?
Of course.
I appreciate it. I got to get caught up. Another a friend of the program just reminded me while Immaculate was talking, another possible answer to the question of why now for Notre Dame is because, again, the SEC looks like most likely it's going to go to 9 conference games. From 8 to 9, looks like that's going to happen in 2026. And when that happens, there's going to be pressure on the Big Ten to go to 10 conference games. We know 10 conference games are being written in the head coach's contracts throughout the Big Ten. We have evidence that we know that it's in PJ Fleck's contract. He's got two portions of his contract. One, if the Big Ten remains at 9 conference games, and the other if they go to 10, because it's going to be difficult to reach your win total to get that extra $100,000 if it's a 10. So the agent made sure that it's in a 9-game conference game format contract in 10, and everybody else is doing the same thing. So if SEC goes to 9, the Big Ten might go to 10, and suddenly Notre Dame's ability to, again, create the schedule that NBC would want, boy, it gets more and more difficult. That's another reason, maybe now, if there is steam to this, again, we're not reporting that there is. We're just giving you a couple, we're just presenting stuff to you guys. I have nothing new. Opie, before we get to Rick, Opie D. Don, help me here, as I do not know. So does all this research and money get distributed evenly among the Big Ten schools? If not, why? Because Big Ten folks preach this above all else. No, they do not. The only thing that gets distributed evenly is the media money and a very small percentage of the ticket sales. That doesn't amount to much. But everything else, no. The Big Ten, the research is important because they share the same library. They work on big federal grants together. It brings more money into the university. And not all that, most of that endowment money gets tied up with certain projects, but some of it can float, be used among departments borrowing against each other. And it's just, if you look at the Big Ten research dollars, they keep rising and rising. There is some exceptions like Nebraska, but everybody else is going skyrocket. So, but no, it doesn't get distributed evenly. Thank you, Opie. And again, these Big Ten presidents like to rub shoulders with, this is what they do. They network. They want Stanford in, but they couldn't get him in last time. If Notre Dame doesn't come along, Stanford's not getting into the Big Ten. It's about blend. It's about greasing the skids. Thank you, Opie, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Rick, go ahead. Let it rip. Let me know what you're thinking.
Boy, I was looking at that Instagram photo from the Stanford football fan.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that sure reminded me of a green duck standing in Buckeye Stadium. You remember that?
I do remember that, but I don't remember. Was that legit though?
It
was
came
a legit
true.
picture, but was it legit steam? I don't remember.
I don't remember, but it reminded me of it.
Yeah. Yes, I can understand that. We had so much information on that Oregon thing that we did not need that picture. But for others, I don't know if that ended up being a real connection or not. But look, I don't know who this gentleman is. I'm going to put it up on the screen again. I don't know who this gentleman is. So,
but your friend with credibility believes he's got street cred. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot. Yeah, he's legit. Like this is not his first rodeo. I don't remember all the things I was told. This Stanford football. So I don't want to say anything incorrect, but this Stanford football fans guy, he's the one who told Stanford, the fans and everything, that they were going to the ACC before anybody else.
Wow.
So, again, I don't have any new information though, guys. But I'm not going to hold it. I'm going to show it to you guys. I'm going to say this is not a quack, and we'll see what happens.
So speaking of Stanford going to the ACC, when does that occur?
That occurs. Boy, that's a great question. Holy smokes! That occurs on August 2nd or 1st. I don't remember.
So I think you're right on August 2nd.
Yeah.
So on August 1st, they wouldn't be in the ACC.
I don't know where. I honestly don't know. Okay, I've been told a couple things. One is that in this example, that Stanford is not a member of the conference right now on July 11th. They're not a voting member, but they're allowed to be in meetings and stuff. And they're allowed to, they're in the ACC fiscal year starting July 1st. They don't get the media money, but there is some sort of other revenue that gets created by the conference. Like, it's just stuff that's not connected to the Pac-12 gore. In other words, Stanford could be getting a little bit of money, like they could be accruing money. Like they could, there's something there that they might, they're not a member, but they could be gaining some sort of monetary substance from whatever status you want to call it. Now, the question is, let's just pretend this is real, and Josh Pate's tease is, Josh Pate said that they've been putting off this decision, and maybe that's Notre Dame, they're T-Rex, let's just pretend that's happening. Well, if they do it now, Stanford is not part of the ACC grant of rights. It's not.
Well,
activated.
I'm sure their lawyers would know whether or not. I mean, they're Stanford.
Yeah.
Would know whether or not they're breaking a contract or not breaking a contract.
I think they would be breaking. It reminds me of UCLA. When UCLA committed to the Big Ten on June 30th, when Berkeley when the Board of Regents, that is the umbrella over California, Berkeley, and UCLA, when they were deciding whether they were going to give UCLA a calamity tax, or they were going to do nothing at all, or if they were going to block UCLA. If they were to block UCLA before UCLA entered the Big Ten grant of rights, UCLA would not have to, but UCLA was going to have to pay a penalty to the Big Ten. And it was like $15 million, if I remember right, just because they committed on paper that they were going to be a member by July 1st, 2024, which they did. But there was still going to be a penalty. So I would imagine, and we're pretending here, obviously, Rick, but if this happens, Stanford, they're not attached to the gore yet, but I'm sure they would pay a penalty to the ACC, some sort of penalty, because they committed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But if that penalty were, say, something nominal like $15 million, which that is to Stanford, saying no to the ACC contract probably isn't a very big deal.
Yeah.
And then the other part is Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA don't become voting members until August 2nd.
Correct.
Same day.
Correct.
So everything can happen prior to August 2nd.
Yep.
And have completely different legal ramifications than it would after August 2nd.
I would agree, yes. Yep. It's interesting, isn't it?
Something to ponder.
Yeah, something to ponder.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, very good call. Great call, Rick. Very interesting.
Yeah, love the show.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Thank you, sir. Now, I know what's going to get reported. Greg Pflugar says that Notre Dame and Stanford are going to the Big Ten. They're going to do it before August 2nd. I can't believe how stupid he is. Oh, my goodness. Look what he's doing. He's Helmer Henderson. How long before the ACC gets cracked open? Best guess. Ooh. sir.
Call from
Steve.
Steve, can you hold on a second?
Sure.
I appreciate it. Helmer Henderson, I got no clue. No clue. How long before the ACC gets cracked open? Best guess. I don't even have a guess. I mean, what is Josh Pate? What is he teasing? Is it ESPN's going to drop the option? Is that going to be announced by the end of the week? Then that would be, that would be one of the guesses. Again, though, this takes me to another point. Who has control of this whole entire situation? Nobody does. Nobody does. Well, maybe the ACC, but even that, we can't really, we don't really know how the courts, we can't predict this stuff. There's so many dominoes and we don't even know where some of the dominoes are. So Notre Dame, if they're not the ones that are going to pull the thread to collapse the ACC, and I don't think they are, Notre Dame don't have control. Like, they're probably, maybe like the Stanford guy, this legit guy, he may have heard that Stanford and Notre Dame, maybe this is something that's going to happen. But if Notre Dame's not the one that's pulling the thread, then Notre Dame ain't going to have the opportunity to do this if this is what they really want to do. Thank you for the super chat, Helmer Henderson. I do appreciate it. Miss Steve, Mr. Bearcat, the floor is yours.
A couple nights ago, I tried to lure you into a conversation about Notre Dame and Stanford, and you know me too well.
Yeah.
And you're too smart to get into it at that time. So I just kind of left it at Greg knows something. So I just kind of left it at that.
Yeah. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I know that Okay, so I know that Notre Dame is, Steve. I know, we all know. I know. Everybody's been watching this show knows that Notre Dame is target number one for the Big Ten, and they're not really going to take any action until they know what Notre Dame's going to do when the ACC releases themselves. We both know, right. Steve, you and I know that Stanford would be Notre Dame's choice number one. So the dots are easily connected. But I haven't got this, Greg, Notre Dame, they're packing up, they're ready. I haven't gotten that.
Right.
But go ahead, sir.
Right. I was told by somebody I trust, and when he tells me things, it's nothing definitive. It's nothing definite, okay? Yeah. He told me once everything falls into place, and he doesn't even have a timeline, he said there's probably going to be conferences are going to stop at 20 for a few years. 20 members. Mm-hmm. He's adamant on that. There's so many reasons that he gave me I'd be here for the next 20 minutes reciting them, but he's pretty confident that everybody's pretty much going to stop at 20 for now. And he added that. And the other thing, Greg, when you were just talking to your last caller and you said, who's in control? I think it goes back to what your suspicions are on Josh Pate's teases. I think ultimately ESPN's in control of this. They can blow up the
True.
ACC pretty quick.
True.
They can. And of course, believe me, I'm no attorney. I've been into some situations on a corporate level where attorneys were always involved. But anyhow, I would think that brings Clemson and Florida State's their arguments stronger if indeed ESPN says, nope, we're done. you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think the leverage definitely goes to every ACC school, basically. What do you think? I mean,
if ESPN says we're done,
yep.
February.
You know, we're not waiting until February 27th. You know,
then
February 25.
Then we're gonna have first party talks all over the place. It's gonna be a mad scramble, and of course that fits Josh Pate's teasers because he said a whole bunch of people are gonna be busy. So, but again,
well, I just think ESPN can control this whole thing with one decision.
Yeah.
I just think they can.
Yeah. Now, Josh Pate in his last tease said that he had a belief, that the dam was going to start breaking by the end of this week, and it's July 11th. It's Thursday. It's 6:26 Eastern Time, 5:26 Central Time. And I don't believe we've seen any indication of any dam breaking, right? So,
not so far.
Not so
far.
Yeah.
You know, we still got a good 24 hours before the weekend.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, see, a lot of things can transpire. The thing that was most amazing to me was what happened last minute, last second with the pack. They were already on that morning.
Yeah.
And that's how fast things can change. That's how quickly things can change.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I know you're big on Sorsby, but I'm still not happy about what you did a couple months ago because he's higher than that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm still not happy with how you rated Sorsby a couple months ago. I'm not over that, Greg. I'm still not over that.
Well, he's
all
good.
Right, my man.
He's good, though. All right, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Have a
care.
good one.
Bye.
Let's put it this way. The Cincinnati Bearcats are going to have a lot better quarterback play in 2024 than they did in 2023. Sorsby can play. Sorsby can play. Indiana did not want to lose Sorsby. Now, they did get Rourke is a good quarterback. All MAC quarterback a couple years ago. So, Indiana's got a good 1-year bridge quarterback under their new coach, Cignetti. So, they got a guy that's going to work. Former quarterback of the Ohio Bobcats, Curtis Rourke. Cincinnati, they got their present and their future. Sorsby can play. So Cincinnati fans are going to, because let's be honest, your quarterback play last year was not, besides the first game of the season, the rest of the Cincinnati Bearcats season went pear-shaped. The quarterback play did not do well on a Scatterfield year 1, but year 2, they've got Sorsby. Chris Hughes in 2024. I could see Virginia, North Carolina, Duke, and Miami to the Big Ten. And the North Carolina Board of Governors won't be able to turn down the money, in my opinion. The SEC gets Florida State, Clemson, and holds. Thank you, Chris Hughes, for the super chat. I do appreciate it. We shall see. We shall see. I think if there is that many teams leaving the ACC, I would like to know where you believe Notre Dame then would end up. Let me know in the chat, Chris Hughes. You don't have to give me another super chat. Put in the chat. I'll give it a look. But if there's that many teams, your belief that's leaving the ACC, 6 schools, where does Notre Dame end up? Thank you, Chris Hughes. Once again, appreciate your generosity. Helping us keep the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. let me hold on. Hold on. Phone is off the hook. Hold on. I apologize. This is live TV. Hold on. The fat guy from Minnesota is calling a timeout. Yeah, I'm going to need help. I'm going to need help from the PATC community to try to either Google, research. I'm sorry, I got to take the phone off the hook. We got to figure something out here. Hold on. I'm going to put something up. Well, first of all, so Brian Murphy put out a tweet a while ago, and I kind of saw it, but UNC Chancellor Search Committee meeting July 17th at 2 p.m. Ambitious goal is to have someone named by the end of the year. The UNC Board of Trustees is also set to meet on July 17th at 9 a.m. I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that was a scheduled meeting. I don't think that's been scheduled out. Let me post something here. Let me see if I can pop this a little bit more so you guys can actually read it. Hopefully that helps. Open session, UNC Board of Trustees. Full board meeting July 17th at 9 a.m. Convene meeting, John Pryor, the chair of the Board of Trustees. Roll call, Ramsey White, secretary. Statement of ethics, John Pryor. Report of the board officers and endowment fund board nominating committee. The chair's remarks, John Pryor. Chancellor's update, interim Chancellor Roberts. So this was just put up there. Now maybe this was just put up there because the ethics and report of board. Maybe it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. My question to the PATC community is the following. Thank you, Chris Hughes. I'll get to you super chats in a little bit. Immaculate says he doesn't think there's any more than regular business. You're probably right. What is the... You remember that North Carolina, the Board of Trustees could not talk about anything in relationship to athletic budget or realignment behind a closed-door session. And remember when a lawyer named David McKenzie filed a suit. And then, just recently, there was going to be something to do with July 12th. That's all I remember. July 12th date, that there was going to be a resolution maybe on it. Well, now it's July 11th. They're all, and that's another thing I was going to bring up. They're all having meetings around the same time. Now, we were told at Peek Around the Corner that the Florida State Board of Trustees meeting was not, was just a regular, it wasn't anything special. So it probably is July regular meetings now. But we're going to keep an eye on it because I want to backtrack. They added the asterisk phrase now above. Explain, Joe Z. July 12th is the date you're thinking of. Yeah, but I can't even remember what's supposed to happen on July 12th. And I try to quickly... Anyways, we'll keep an eye on it. People are sending me stuff during the live show, which is good. They extended the court order to July 12th. Got it. All right. Some of the business of the board is authorized by NC Open Meetings Law to be conducted in closed session. Now, did they just add that part to it? Did they just link that to this or what? Joe Z, did they add that since Brian McMurphy's? Yeah, I just opened it up. It's the same thing that I showed up on the screen. Okay. I don't even see the disclaimer. Where is the disclaimer, Joe? Because I don't see it on the agenda. Interesting indeed. Let me get to super chat real quick. I appreciate it, Chris Hughes. Notre Dame and Stanford are 19 and 20 to the Big Ten. The others are 21 through 24. Thank you, Chris Hughes, for answering that question. Yeah, Notre Dame is 19, Stanford 20. Thank you, Chris, for your incredible generosity. I do appreciate it. I understand what you are pointing out. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, sir. Anyways, I think we'll drop that for now. There's not much there. I'm reading. Look, when I'm doing a live show, people are sending me stuff, which is great. Just taking a little bit of a time out. Thank you. Okay. So, thank you, Josie, and thank you for the person who sent this to me. It probably was Josie or somebody, I don't know, but there is a disclaimer there. Some of the business of the board is authorized by NC open meeting law to be conducted in closed session. So there it is. I don't know how much we can get off of that. I don't really know. This is probably not having to do with any, we're just trying to make sure if there are dots to connect, that we connect them. We always got to be curious here. Always got to be curious about what is going on. Thank you, Opti Cat. Boards like the North Carolina Board of Governors, or this is the Board of Trustees, are required to post an agenda so many days before the meeting. Additional action items can amend the agenda with certain requirements as outlined under NC Open Records Law. Thank you so much. I know that there was just a couple months ago, North Carolina Board of Governors sent out a memo to basically the North Carolina Board of Trustees and says, you've got to put down your open sessions. You got to post it at least 7 days before it happens. Again, this is July 11th. That is July 17th. Is that 7, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? If you count 11, that's a day. That's 7 days. So I guess. But I remember that the Board of Governors got on the Board of Trustees and says, you've got to do it 7 days before, just a reminder. That's coming from the statewide Board of Governors. What is the name of the new conference? Yeah. Well, what do you think, Morris? Do you think it'll be just the ACC, a condensed 10-team ACC, or are you going to just rebrand it? You probably rebrand it if that's what's going to happen. If it's the dissolution theory that Josh Pate is teasing, then Morris Simmons with an excellent comment. I think you would have to rebrand it. P-Lit, I'm not a big fan of the NC Board of Governors. All Coast Conference. I don't know, guys. I do not know. Don't know, Expedition Greg. Probably nothing. Probably nothing. Let's keep an eye on it. Okay, we're going to shut down our live show. We've been on the air for over 2 hours. I do appreciate it. Again, this was a nuanced show. We're not reporting Notre Dame and Stanford to the Big Ten and all that stuff that sure enough people are going to say that I said. That did not happen here. We went over the reasons why that this was brought up today. This gentleman here is legit. He believes Notre Dame and Stanford. He does not say it's imminent. He says the ACC has to collapse, and when it does, this is what Notre Dame and Stanford are working on. Notre Dame and Stanford to the Big Ten. Do I have that information? No. Do I know that Notre Dame is the 10th pole around in which the next realignment wave is standing on? Yes, Notre Dame and North Carolina. And if Notre Dame pulls that trigger to the Big Ten and if they get to choose who they want to bring along, Stanford is, of course, the heavy chalk. Anybody would tell you that. If Notre Dame and Stanford goes to the Big Ten, would other schools come? Could that be the opening for other ACC schools, other schools out, I don't know, guys. I don't know. You guys kill me. You guys absolutely kill me. Great. Greg, what date did you say Notre Dame and Stanford would be announced to the Big Ten? Okay, we're going to shut this down. I do appreciate all your wonderful donations, the comments in the comments section, your incredible phone calls. Once again, if you're new to the show or if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our College Football's Peek Around the Corner channel. And when you subscribe, you got to have your notifications on because we go where the story goes. In everything in college football. In everything. So what that means is we could be doing another live show tonight if we have to. If Josh Pate's teasing the T-Rex, if that explodes at 4 hours from now, we're coming on live. So subscribe, turn on your notifications to our channel, and keep your head on a swivel. We cover everything like nobody else. So buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.